Good morning. It's day 22, it's beginning of week 4. I'm at the Kaiser Lake campground still. It is about 9 o'clock in the morning. It rained last night, so I took my time this morning trying to get ready, waiting for the rain to stop, which it did. And I've only got a short ride, about half an hour, over to a museum here in Ohio that is devoted to restoring historical aircraft. And there's apparently a B-17 bomber that they are in the process of restoring. So that opens at 10 o'clock. It's 9 right now. I've got a little bit of time to kill. So I'll kind of mosey my way on over there. And then after that, I'm going to a bicycle museum further to the northwest. And if time allows, there is over on the eastern side of Indiana an automobile museum, so I may do that as well. So here we go for the day. It's a chilly, damp, kind of miserable morning here in the middle of Ohio. I believe that is the airport and the hangar. This little museum is located. They only have a handful of planes. The B-17 Champaign Aviation Museum at Urbana Municipal Airport, just within the Urbana corporate limits. This is outside their museum. Alright, well that was a bust. Nobody ever showed up. Waited 15 minutes, called their telephone number. There's no answering machine here, nobody answered. So on to the bicycle museum. Still early in the growing season here in Ohio. Plants are just coming up out of the ground. I am entering New Bremen, Ohio. The bicycle museum is located. Hopefully I'll have more success here than I did at the aircraft museum. Looks like they have a canal walk here to look at too. This is the historic Miami and Erie Canal in New Bremen, Ohio. Select number 1 was completed in 1845 and was constructed of white oak. The concrete replaced it in 1910. So you might ask, what was the Miami and Erie Canal for? It was to connect the Ohio River with Lake Erie from the mid to late 1800s. This allowed towns like New Bremen to quickly grow and prosper. A boy with a mule that would pull the boats through the locks. Swing gates used to close the lock doors. Coventry Rotary Women's Tricycle. That's one of the first safety bicycles where the wheels were the same size. 1886 J.K. Starley Rover. And outside the drive chain driving the rear wheel. 1889 with a metal skirt guard for women. 1891. It's got a removable crossbar, so a woman can ride it, and then the crossbar can be replaced for a man. This is a reproduction of a dress scene in 1816. It didn't have pedals, you just sat on it and pushed your feet against the ground and then glided as long as you could. Made over in Germany. This is an 1850 quadricycle, which never gained quite the popularity that might have until Henry Ford attached an engine to it, turned it into an automobile. And this is a Rambler Model 20, 1896. Features a feather spring, which is a turn of wood there that could be provide suspension to the seat. The Rouge Tandem, 1899. The Wolf American Companion Tricycle, 1898. This is a tandem, Punnett Companion Tandem, 1897, that could be converted to a single bike by inserting the tube into the center frame and removing the side frames. 1869 monocycle. You actually sit inside the bike, inside the wheel. This is propelled by hand. This is a 1913 Shaman Racing safety bicycle in its original crate. It's never been uncrated. This is a 2-speed bicycle, and you pedal backwards to go uphill. That's crazy. This is the 711 Huffy Sirona, 1987. It's part of the first American team to place in the Tour de France. Schwinn kids bikes from the 1970s and 1980s. A bike from 1985's Pee-wee's Big Adventure movie. This bike is made for riding on high wire. Schwinn Circus Tycoon, 1959. Electrified S, 2017, Amsterdam, Netherlands. It's got a fully enclosed drivetrain. Can reach speeds of 20 miles per hour. The Elgin Bluebird, 1936. Elgin Cycle Company, sold through Sears department stores. Art Deco design. That's a neat looking bike. This is an Indian balloon tire, 1937. And it's got center bar, kind of like motorcycle tank. That to be outdone, Harley Davidson bicycle collection, and there's a sidecar on it. Dayton Zephyr, 1941. Bike made for 5, twin couplet. So that's the Bicycle Museum of America. It's a fun visit, lots of interesting bikes. I'm headed up to northern Indiana, just over the Ohio border, where there is a automobile museum. It'll be a little bit of a close call on timing, because the museum I think closes at 5, and I'm going to get there at 2:30, so I'm only going to have a couple hours there. But it's kind of in the right direction, headed north. So I figured I'd take a shot at it and see what there is to see. And then there is a campground, Indiana campground, within about 15 or 20 miles from that museum that I hope to stay at tonight, although I don't have reservations. This was not in my itinerary. Given the fact that I couldn't see that one B-17 today, we're going into Indiana. Established 1816. Bike now has 49,007 miles on it. 2020 V-Strom DL 650. Started riding it in early 2021. Alright, I'm off the interstate. It's called the Auburn Cord Duesenberg Automobile Museum. That's how Cord got its name into the title of this museum. He was the president of the Auburn Automobile Company, and he also bought Duesenberg Automobile Motors, 1926. Beautiful cars. There's 3 floors. 1937 Cord 812. Cost $3,575 when new. Was meant to be driven by a chauffeur. What a classic looking car. 1932 Auburn 12-cylinder. Only 4 are known to exist. When it was new in 1932, it was a mere $1,545. 391 cubic inch engine. Man, it's just gorgeous. These cars in here are just all gorgeous. 1920 Revere. Revere was built here in Indiana. Those wheels. This is a 1930 Cadillac V16. Overhead valves, 2 valves per cylinder. 16-cylinder engine. 1934 Duesenberg Model J. Straight 8-cylinder. 265 horsepower, weighs 5,500 pounds. They have the windscreen in the back. 1932 Cord. This is the company that fellow took and built cars for, whose name's on the museum. The 1931 Stinson aircraft that was owned by the Auburn Automobile Company. The radial engine on it. Top speed 125 miles an hour. 1931 Duesenberg Model J Beverly Sedan. Displaces 420 cubic inches, 265 horsepower, $16,500 when new, which must have been an arm and a leg back then. This white vehicle with the red trim is a 1930 Cord. It was actually a front-wheel drive vehicle, 3-speed manual. It didn't do very well only because of the fact that the stock market crashed and there was the Great Depression, which reduced demand for vehicles like this. 1933 Auburn in powder blue. With the jump seat in the back. I just wanted to ride in a car that has a jump seat like that. I like the color. The color's pretty cool. A 1936 Auburn 852 Phaeton, $1,795 when new. US dollars, 280 cubic inches. 1936 Cord 810. I like that grill. (1937) Cord 812 Coupe. Look at the size of these front fenders. Apparently this was found in a decrepit condition up in Canada by a Cord enthusiast who brought it back to the States and spent several years restoring it. It's a 1926 Duesenberg Model A chassis. Several firsts for passenger cars, including 4-wheel hydraulic brakes, single overhead camshaft, straight 8-cylinder engine. And this is a Duesenberg 1921 Model A, the first passenger car to bear the Duesenberg name. And this creamsicle colored car is a 1930 Cord L29. It's first successfully mass-produced front-wheel drive automobile. They took the straight 8 and installed the engine in reverse, allowing the transmission and differential in front of the engine to power the front wheels. That allowed the car to sit 11 inches lower than most of the cars of the time, which gave it a much sleeker looking appearance. It'd be fun to drive one of these. 1927 Doozy. '26 Duesenberg Model A touring car. I like the color scheme. This exhibit is dedicated to Eric Loban Cord,
Cord was the businessman that ran the Auburn Automotive Company and eventually controlled over 150 companies. He owned this BSA motorcycle and kept it aboard his yacht, Virginia. He rode the motorcycle extensively during his visit to England with his family in 1934. The motorcycle is 4-stroke, 249cc, single cylinder with a side valve, 2.5 horsepower. I would absolutely kill to ride a bike like this for a bit. This section deals with the cars of Indiana. They were built here. Get you a sense for all the different locations around Indiana where they produced automobiles. 1911 Israel. Going back even further in time, 1894 Black. 1901 Haynes Pearson Model A, 2 cylinders. Look how quickly the automobile evolved. That was an Apperson 1901. This is an Apperson 1920. Here, 19 years later. Transformed completely in the way it looks. 1823 Stutz Speedway 4, from manufactured in Indianapolis, Indiana, not too far from where I am. Studebaker, 1915. The body for this car was made in South Bend and shipped to Detroit for final assembly. 1952 Crosley Super Roadster. Put a little engine on it. 1932 Auburn. I thought we had the leather straps over the hood. And leather straps on the spare too. And of course, the Chevrolet Corvette, 1954, the second year they were made. 1953, they sold 300 vehicles. 1954, they sold over 10 times that number. 3,600 were sold. First year was offered only in white. Subsequent years, they offered it in multiple colors. Cars in here. Starting with a 1951 Jaguar XK120. Or how about a 1963 Jaguar E-Type? Almost $6,000, wouldn't know. 1938 Packard. Look at that hood ornament. V12 engine. Wow, that's gorgeous. It's huge. 60-degree V, 85 horsepower, 437 cubic inches, 3-speed manual. With the transmission, 1,300 pounds. 1909 Mitchell. Got all the brass on it. 1912 Auburn 30L. Steering on the right. Love the windshield. Wood steering wheel. Minimum instrumentation, kind of like my Suzuki. Doesn't have much, but it has what you need. And here's something hits a little closer to home. The Locomobile Company. 1919 Model 48, first of Watertown, Massachusetts, later in my home state of Bridgeport, Connecticut. Began building small steam cars in 1899. This is the Tasco 1948. Tasco stands for the American Sports Car Company. Mercury V8, 3-speed manual, 150 horsepower, $7,500 when new, and it had, I think, the first T-top. Very unusual design, huh? Lots of eye candy in here. 1931 Cord L29. Nice color combo. Really pops. I think I'm going to hit the road. I'm getting hungry. It's after 4 o'clock, and I need to ride a little bit, get some dinner, and get a camp. So I got a little ways to go. Been traveling since this morning. If you like automobiles, it's a pretty good museum. Pokagon State Park, Potawatomi and Department of Natural Resources. I think this is a pretty big park. Okie dokie. Did a walk-in, took a little longer than I was hoping, but a nice young man who's just learning the ropes, given that he's a summer employee. Okay, here we go. A Site 228. Still not the greatest, even though I picked it out. Hopefully my tent will fit there. It looks like it's still a little cocked at an angle, but I'll be able to get my bike off the road. Time to set up camp and grab dinner. My tent set up, the flies just hanging there drying out a little bit.
Bike. Here's the dinner for tonight. Chicken bacon Caesar wrap, Cobb salad, plain bagel, some watermelon, leaf tea, pure leaf tea for a drink, and chocolate donut for dessert.